Hi, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with nectar prices. It may be November, but Christmas is just around the corner, and that means you probably need to start your Christmas party planning. But the good news is that if you're looking for value for money this Christmas, Sainsbury's have great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get half price on Bailey's Original with 1 litre for just £11, 789 Prosecco for £5.50, or Newland's Point Sauvignon Blanc for just £6, all with nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with nectar price at Sainsbury's. This offer's for 18 plus, nectar app required. Prosecco and wine offer ends November the 12th, available in supermarkets and online but excludes locals. Delivery fees may apply, subject to availability. T's and C's apply. Please drink responsibly.
It's Saturday, the 8th of November. I'm Ciara Revens, and this was a week that saw law and order in the spotlight, dramatic wins for Democrats in the US, the King knighting Sir David Beckham, and tributes to a British acting icon, Pauline Collins.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
But not the news.
Last Saturday saw a brutal stabbing incident aboard a train from Petersburg to King's Cross. Police were called after a man stabbed multiple people, leaving 11 people injured and needing hospital treatment. Passengers on the train sounded the alert and called emergency services, and police met the train after the driver diverted it to Huntingdon Station in Cambridgeshire just before 8 p.m. and tasered a suspect. Superintendent John Lovelace, speaking on Sunday, said it was an ongoing investigation, but there's no suggestion of any larger danger to the public.
British Transport Police declared a major incident, and counter-terrorism policing were initially supporting our investigation. However, at this stage, there is nothing to suggest that this is a terrorist incident.
The King and Queen were amongst those sending best wishes to the victims, and eyewitness reports painted a picture of panic and horror on board. Ollie Foster was one of those passengers who went to help the injured.
Put my hand on this chair, and then I look at my hand and it's covered in blood, and then I look at the chair and there's blood all over the chair, and I'm thinking, okay, this is pretty serious. I'm still trying to work out who is it, what's their intentions, what's their motives. I just knew they were stabbing everyone. The
police investigation into the stabbings on the high-speed train in Cambridgeshire was expanded on Monday. Police believe the suspect they have in custody may have also been involved in a number of stabbings on public transport earlier on Saturday. The man appeared in court on Monday, charged with 10 counts of attempted murder, and was also charged with another count based on an attack in East London. 5 victims of the attack remain in hospital, one of whom is seriously ill, and Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander says that while there will be a security review, it does appear to be an isolated event.
When incidents like this happen, they are thankfully very, very rare, and it is right to review security arrangements, but our response should be based in practicality and proportionate to the evidence of the threat.
Tory Shadow Home Secretary Chris Phillips is trying to claim credit for a drop in crime rates under the Tory government, but he says more action is needed.
Overall crime went down, homicide went down, knife crime went down over the last 5 years. It's still too high. Right, 250 murders a year using knives, that is still too high, and that is why we need an even tougher response.
Law and Order stayed in the headlines all week as Deputy PM and Justice Secretary David Lammy came under serious pressure on Wednesday. As it emerged, the prison service accidentally released 2 more prisoners. It comes less than 2 weeks after a scandal over the release of a convicted sex offender, and Lammy appeared to be caught out by questions in Parliament over whether there had been more prisoners released. A rushed statement admitted that 2 men, an Algerian man who had overstayed his visa and a British man convicted of fraud, had been released in error. Lammy was clearly furious and intent on blaming the previous Tory government.
In 25 years in this House, I've not witnessed a more shameful spectacle, frankly, than what the party opposite left. They left our prisons on the brink of collapse entirely.
It emerged the man convicted of fraud was mistakenly released on the same day he was convicted in court. It raises serious questions about the prison system and the impact that overcrowding is having on administrative systems. But Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander was happy to defend her colleague.
One of these releases in error is one too many, and I suspect David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, will be heading straight back to the Ministry of Justice to ask some very, very tough questions.
Justice Secretary and Deputy PM David Lammy has now asked Dame Lynn Owens to conduct a rapid review into how the original mistake happened. However, with more mistakes this week, the pressure is growing, although Lammy says the whole system is at crisis point.
This is a paper-based system that obviously involves human error. We had 800 errors under the last government. This has now gone on for a generation. Our prison system is in crisis.
His case won't have been helped by Prime Minister Keir Starmer describing himself as angry and frustrated over the mistaken releases and saying that it's our job to fix it. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch wasn't taking any responsibility for the state of the system her government handed it over in and was keen to blame Lammy.
What we have seen now is an explosion in accidental prisoner releases, many of them foreign criminals. This should not be happening. We know that there will always be times when mistakes occur, but the scale at which it is happening is causing real worry.
This week saw the US government shutdown break a record for the longest shutdown in history. The previous record holder was Donald Trump in his first term. Trump spent the weekend posting photos of a marble-based upgrade for the Lincoln bathroom in the White House and has shown no interest in doing any kind of deal to reopen the US government. Democrats are demanding action on healthcare, but Congress is also shut down, in part to avoid a vote on releasing the Epstein files. California Governor Gavin Newsom was warning Americans that democracy itself is at risk under Trump.
He is not screwing around. He's changing the rules. He's rigging the game because he knows he'll lose if all things are equal. He did not expect California to fight fire with fire.
Tuesday saw Americans go to the polls for the first test at the ballot box of Donald Trump's turbulent second term. There were elections for governor in New Jersey and Virginia and elections for state legislators, but most eyes were focused on New York's mayoral election. The Democrat candidate Zoran Mamdani has been generating genuine excitement as he has been at the centre of a whirlwind of campaign activity across the last few weeks. Republicans were running scared with former Governor Andrew Cuomo, the closest rival, running as an independent. Donald Trump threatened to withhold funding from New York if Mamdani, a man he's branded a communist, wins, but Donald doesn't seem to be great at working out what political descriptions actually mean. He was clear on one thing, though.
Look, they call me a Nazi all the time. I'm not a Nazi. I'm the opposite. I'm somebody that's saving our country. But they call me Nazi. They have talking points. And the press is largely responsible for it.
Tuesday saw the death of former US Vice President Dick Cheney, who served alongside George W. Bush and was considered one of the most powerful VPs in political history. He was the principal architect of the war on terror following the 9/11 attacks and advocated strongly for the invasion of Iraq. President Bush paid tribute to a man he called one of the finest public servants of his generation. Cheney was one of a few senior Republicans to speak out against Donald Trump in the aftermath of the January 6th insurrection attempt.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters.
Trump won't have been thrilled by the election results from Tuesday, which saw wins across the board for Democrats. They won the 2 governor races in Virginia and New Jersey, and Gavin Newsom's plan to add 5 new congressional seats was approved in California, and they won the New York mayoral election. Zoran Mamdani becomes the first Muslim mayor of New York, winning more than 50% of the vote in the election with a huge turnout, and he sounds ready for the fight with the US president.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
After his election win, Mamdani has already named a transition team of City Hall veterans and has an ambitious agenda to deliver.
Last night, we made history. And I'm so proud to be standing here today as the mayor-elect of the greatest city in the world. Over 2 million New Yorkers cast their ballots. I will work every day to honor the trust that I now hold.
Donald Trump spent Wednesday complaining about the results, alternately blaming the shutdown for the losses and the fact that Trump wasn't on the ticket. It's not clear whether Democrats can carry their momentum into next year's midterms, but Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson sounded like he was shooting a campaign video for the Democrats on Wednesday.
Well, if we lose the majority in the House and this radical element of the Democratic Party were able to take over, They will try to end the Trump administration. He won't have 4 years, he'll have only 2, because they will move to impeach him probably on the first day of the new Congress in January 2027. And they will try to systematically unwind all the important reforms that we've done for the American people.
American politics might just be seeing a changing of the guard as some of the giants of the last decade reach the end of their political road. Recently, former Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced that he will not be seeking re-election. And now former Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the first and only woman to hold the position, has announced she too will step down from Congress in 2026. She ruled with an iron fist despite continual attacks from the Republicans. She delivered votes consistently for Joe Biden's administration and was both respected and feared. On hearing the news of her retirement, President Trump described her as an evil woman.
With a grateful heart, I look forward to my final year of service as your proud representative. As we go forward, my message to the city I love is this: San Francisco, know your power.
Last weekend saw Kemi Badenoch mark 1 year as leader of the Conservative Party. That's just over 8 times as long as Liz Truss managed, but it's not been plain sailing for her. A recent poll puts support for the Tories at just 17% behind Labour and a long way behind Reform, who are polling at 29%. More worryingly for Kemi, only 12% of people think she should be the next Prime Minister. She was focused on the positive when she spoke to the BBC on Sunday.
We're the only party that is both credible enough, competent enough and tough enough to do the things that will get a stronger economy and stronger borders. Of course, we've made mistakes. That's why I've changed the party policy on various things like net zero to immigration.
The Tories have lost a number of MPs, councillors and donors to Reform, and Badenoch has found herself under pressure from a number of rivals in the party, including Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick. Tory Party Chair Kevin Hollinrake says he still has faith in Badenoch's leadership.
We know we can win. If we get the message right, we get the air campaign right and we get the ground campaign right, we can win. There's a lot of optimism amongst the party, the people who are on the ground.
Reform leader Nigel Farage made a major speech on Monday laying out his party's economic plan should they win the next general election. The first piece of news was that £90 billion of tax cuts he promised before the last election are no longer part of the plan. The Reform leader says the dire state of the current economy makes it impossible. He did have new ideas though, including reducing the minimum wage for younger workers, scrapping net zero and banning diversity and inclusion. He said it's a bold economic vision for Britain.
My promise is that Reform will do differently. We will become the most pro-business, pro-entrepreneurship government that has been seen in this country in modern times.
Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander didn't sound too concerned about Nigel's grand plans and the lack of detail provided.
Well, like most of Reform's policies, I think this has probably been knocked up on the back of a fag packet. He promised that Kent County Council was going to be the best advert for Reform. They're putting council tax up and you've got the Reform leader of Kent County Council screaming like a banshee online. If that's the best advert for Reform, then God help us.
If you've been hoping that the Labour government might stick to its promises of no new taxes, there was bad news for you on Monday. Chancellor Rachel Reeves gave an unusual pre-budget address to the nation, which hinted strongly that the first rise to the basic rate of income tax in 50 years could be on the way. With the economy cooling and productivity revised downwards, Reeves was blaming decades of economic mismanagement combined with ballooning public debt for creating an unpleasant prospect for workers.
When I was appointed Chancellor, people put their faith in me to take our country forward, not to be swayed by political convenience, not to always do what is popular, but to do what is right.
It's still not clear what the exact plan is, with suggestions that it could involve changes to VAT and reductions in green levies or some form of increase targeted at the wealthier taxpayer. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch described the speech as a long waffle bomb and was keen to blame the Chancellor for the UK's economic woes.
Rachel Reeves is damaging the economy with tax rises. She promised last year that she wouldn't come back for more. She's breaking not just the manifesto promise, but one that she made after the last budget, because she has not been able to get a grip on the economy.
And if Chancellor Rachel Reeves was hoping her speech on Tuesday in advance of the budget would damp down speculation about what might actually be in the budget, she was sadly wrong. In fact, the hint at income tax rises that she delivered would be the first increase to the base rate in 50 years and has caused more anxiety and discussion over what is to come in late November. The tax rises, if they come, are principally to ensure that the government can continue to invest in public services like the NHS, and Health Secretary Wes Streeting was put in the spotlight by Channel 4 News, but he wasn't giving much away.
I'm not sure any of us will emerge happy from the budget. I don't think the Chancellor will emerge happy from the budget. Anytime there is a budget or a fiscal event, I'm always in there, knocking on the Chancellor's door to talk about the things that we could do with more money.
Monday saw NATO representatives in Kyiv to meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky. He thanked Germany in particular for the provision of additional Patriot missile batteries and mentioned both the US and the UK, who have provided additional missiles. There's still no sign of Trump's promised Tomahawks, and Russia continues to crank up the pressure on the front line, targeting the key distribution centre of Pokrovsk in the east of Ukraine. Matthew Whitaker is a permanent representative of the United States to NATO, and he said his visit was focused on making sure that the military aid that has been promised is being delivered in time for winter.
We're here to encourage and to support what you're doing here. Thank you for having us. And so far, this is my first time in Ukraine. I'm
the first time?
Yeah.
It's good. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All week, Russian forces have been inching closer to taking control of the critical eastern city of Pokrovsk. Ukrainian sources say the battle for the city isn't over, but it is clear that Russia is pouring troops into the battle, hoping to achieve a key objective of Vladimir Putin. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says help is coming as NATO members gear up production of weapons and ammunition.
Until recently, Russia was producing more ammunition than all NATO allies put together, but not anymore. Across the alliance, we are now opening dozens of new production lines and expanding existing ones.
One of Russia's most famous rebels, Masha Alyokina, from girl band Pussy Riot, who were famously sent to prison over protests against Putin, told Radio 4 that the Russian leader needs conflict to retain control of his country.
Putin needs war because he needs to keep people in survival mode. People should not leave, should not ask questions, should be locked in the survival mode.
Still to come on the Standout 7 in association with Metro, Prince William's Earthshot Prize and tributes to a British acting icon, Pauline Collins.
Right after this. Hi, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with nectar prices. It may be November, but Christmas is just around the corner, and that means you probably need to start your Christmas party planning. But the good news is that if you're looking for value for money this Christmas, Sainsbury's have great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get half price on Bailey's Original with 1 litre for just £11, 789 Prosecco for £5.50, or Newland's Point Sauvignon Blanc for just £6, all with nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with nectar price at Sainsbury's. This offer's for 18+, nectar app required. Prosecco and wine offer ends November the 12th. Available in supermarkets and online, but excludes locals. Delivery fees may apply, subject to availability. T's and C's apply. Please drink responsibly.
Welcome back. Prince William has been in Brazil all week for his annual environmental initiative, the Earthshot Prize. It seeks to reward environmental activists and entrepreneurs with grants and support. And there's more coverage of this year's winners on this weekend's Sunday 7 edition of the Smart 7. The prize served as a warm-up for the annual climate conference, COP30, which gets underway in Brazil next week. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has been openly critical of world leaders' failure to engage with climate change, and he warned that missing the 1.5-degree climate target should be considered a moral failure. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is in Brazil, and he said the UK understands the urgency of the climate crisis.
Can energy security wait too? Can bill payers wait? Can we win the race for green jobs and investment by going slow? Of course not. Inaction would only deepen these problems.
Windsor Castle was the location for a special moment for former England and Man United player David Beckham on Tuesday. He was officially knighted by His Majesty the King for services to sport and for his charity work. Sir David was joined by his wife Victoria and his parents. The Beckhams are both already OBEs, but the upgrade to knighthood was something that delighted Beckham, and he was particularly pleased that the King was impressed by his choice of suit.
Because I had a successful career, I was able to implement change with the things that I said and the things that I got involved in, and I think that's why the charity work that I do is so important to me. But the 14-year-old boy from East London standing here in the castle with His Majesty the King, it's a very proud moment for me and my family.
The death was announced on Thursday evening of British actress Pauline Collins at 85 years of age. She was hugely famous for her many TV and film roles across the years, from early parts in drama series through to West End roles, including a stage production of Shirley Valentine, for which she won an Olivier Award and a Tony Award. She met her husband John Alderton on the set of Upstairs Downstairs in the 1970s, and the two went on to star together in several series and became the faces of Maxwell House Coffee in the 1980s. She had suffered from Parkinson's disease in recent years and passed away surrounded by her family at a care home in Highgate. The film version of Shirley Valentine earned her an Oscar nomination and a BAFTA award and created many iconic moments, including this one. Rest in peace, Pauline.
That's right, Melandra. I'm going to Greece for the sex. Sex for breakfast, sex for dinner, sex for tea, and sex for supper.
Sounds like a marvellous diet, love.
It is. Have you never heard of it? It's called the F Plan.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes, we'll give you the world. Hi, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with nectar prices. It may be November, but Christmas is just around the corner, and that means you probably need to start your Christmas party planning. But the good news is that if you're looking for value for money this Christmas, Sainsbury's have great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get half price on Bailey's Original with 1 litre for just £11, 789 Prosecco for £5.50, or Newland's Point Sauvignon Blanc for just £6, all with nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with nectar price at Sainsbury's. This offer's for 18+, nectar app required. Prosecco and wine offer ends November the 12th. Available in supermarkets and online, but excludes locals. Delivery fees may apply, subject to availability. T's and C's apply. Please drink responsibly.